Hey everyone, on today's episode I interviewed Cosmin Serban, who is a designer and illustrator from Romania. Cosmin works as the director of design at Instapage, where he and his teammates are in charge of designing landing pages for high-profile clients. He also has a successful YouTube channel where he shares his passion for illustration and design and posts really great tutorials, so I really recommend you check out his channel, and there's a link in the description. Cosmin didn't study graphic design at the university. He actually started practicing design at home and slowly made his way from designing $5 logos into being a director of design and leading 2 teams of designers in an international company. So in this video, he'll share his personal story and tell us all about how he became a designer without studying in the university. Let's start. Good to see you finally.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, finally. I've been watching your channel for a while now, and I've always been curious what you're up to. So it's pretty cool to finally be able to talk.
Thanks, man. Yeah, obviously I know your channel as well, and I'm a follower, and I guess we'll talk about it later in this interview. I wanted to start with just some background about you and what you do today before we talk about like your journey and all that.
Yeah, so right now I work full-time as director of design services for a tech company, for Instapage. So right now I manage 2 different design teams, and that's what I do. As I see it as a career, and then as a passion, still in design. I like doing small illustrations, like flat illustrations. And from then on out, I started thinking about starting a YouTube channel, and I'm guessing just like you, maybe inspire people, and at the same time, maybe have a reason for me to pursue this, to do it as a passion. Because if you're doing something as a passion, sometimes it's pretty hard to find time to be consistent with it, right? So
Yeah.
So right now, this is how I spend my time, most of my time.
Awesome. And the design job is something local? You go physically to a studio, or is it Okay.
Yeah. So right now the company has locations in San Francisco, Romania. So I'm from Romania, from Timișoara. If we have any Romanian viewers, and I go to the office, so it's not a remote job. It's a team here in Timișoara.
Okay, awesome. And okay, so yeah, let's talk a little bit about your past. And I mean, was graphic design something that you always thought about growing up?
No, man, actually not at all. So actually, I've never met a designer until I was like 20 something. So I never knew like this was something you could do, right? So that's why I feel like my journey is kind of different than what you hear most of the time. Because straight out of high school, I was working like as a copywriter, as a freelancer with some of my buddies, and we were being paid like nothing just because we were like 18, and we were doing all kinds of articles online. We were getting maybe like...
So for websites?
Yeah, it was mostly for blogs and stuff. So we were writing them for like $2 per article, which was like crazy now that I think about it. But I mean, it was... we were making like $50 per month, and it was like amazing when you're 18. That's like the holy grail. And afterwards, like I really didn't know what to do in terms of education. So I went with engineering. So when you don't know what to do, you go to something very hard, and that's what I did. Like I definitely took way more than I was expecting with joining the university here in Timișoara as a mechanical engineer.
Oh, really? Wow, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so after like 3 months, I knew like I'm not gonna do this for a job. It was very clear for me. But at the time, I was staying with my parents who live here in Timișoara as well, and it was very hard to explain that I wanted to work online. You know, so that proposition didn't really. I was never able to make it. You know, so I stick it out, and during this time, I started doing learning Illustrator and doing logos. Again, the aha moment, if you call it, was probably when I joined on a forum. I joined some contest. There were some logo contests, and I made one, a very bad logo, very bad. But I won that logo, and it was like $20,
Wait,
and
wait,
I
wait.
couldn't
You
believe
have
it.
to, I mean, I want to understand like how did you
Okay.
started thinking about logo
Oh,
design,
yeah, like
illustration, and
you have to
I mean,
imagine that during so I found out about Photoshop and stuff at about 18 years old, and I would say that during that summer vacation between high school finishing and starting college, like I don't think I went out at all. I was just in love with Photoshop and Illustrator. Like I found out about Illustrator, I found out about Photoshop. I downloaded a lot of courses. Uh,
did you have a
downloaded.
friend who
I didn't pay. I have to be honest. Like those were rough times. I didn't have anybody. Yeah.
and
So
was like another friend of yours who maybe was into it or something like that, or you just kind
no,
of
no, no,
discovered
no.
it online?
I just kind of stumbled it online. I just kind of stumbled upon Photoshop. I knew you could do photo manipulations and stuff, you know. And I'm like, oh my god, I would love to do that. And of course, like every designers, when they start, you do like very weird photo manipulations
Yeah,
that nobody should see those, but you think they're art, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so I remember like that summer, uh, that's all I did. Like I didn't go out, I didn't really do anything, I didn't hang out with friends, like none of that stuff. Every day I was doing like tutorials, and I was trying to get better at Photoshop. And after a while, I think I was like, let's try Illustrator out. And because always my worry was like, this is not clean enough. Like I'm a perfectionist, so I'm always like, I was always zooming in, and I'm like, oh my god, this is not clean enough. And I was trying to get like all the artifacts out and stuff like that.
You remind me
And
of
then
my
I
designer friends. This is, yeah, you're definitely you have the soul of the of a designer.
yeah, probably. Yeah, so I was trying to get everything perfect, and then I discovered Illustrator where like you can place vector paths, and I'm like, this is it, this is perfect. And I started playing with it, but honestly, I felt way more comfortable with Photoshop. That's why the first logos I was doing, they were done in Photoshop. Like I wasn't providing vector files. It was just like random contests on some forums. Maybe some of the people who are listening, maybe they can try this out. I know there's a lot of pushback for design contests in the design community, right?
Yeah,
Because you can definitely see a race to the bottom there.
yeah.
But at the same time, I've been on the other side where I didn't have a formal education, so I wasn't really competing in the marketplace to get jobs. I didn't have any experience, so again, there wasn't like an idea of getting clients or trying to get a portfolio or anything like that. I wasn't even thinking about becoming a designer, right? So it is something I was doing for fun that eventually led to what I'm doing now.
And I
Yeah,
guess
so
it's
some
also that a really good way to get feedback. As I talked about it, you know, I was talking about starting graphic design without the university, and I think the hardest problem is you don't get feedback. So I think, you know, uploading it to some kind of a competition or a forum is a really good way to get feedback on your work.
Yeah, and you can. I feel like you can challenge yourself. So it's not a matter of waiting for constructive criticism, because most of the time, let's say the clients that are posting those contests definitely don't have real design skills, right? And some of that feedback might not be constructive. But I feel like it's really good to, in this case, see what others are doing, and take a look at what you're doing and why aren't you winning those contests. Like maybe there's something there. I feel like if you really start doing this, and if you put in the time and you join contests for like 6 months and you're not winning anything, I feel like during those times there are a couple of moments where you should stop and see what others are doing, find some inspiration. uh, I'm not saying like copy, but at least understand how others are getting to the result and what makes it so different than yours that it wins in the end.
Yeah,
Because yeah,
that's a really good point. I wonder if like the first things that you did using Photoshop and Illustrator, like did you share it with your friends and parents? I mean,
no. No way. Like I definitely that was the thing. I wasn't looking for feedback, honestly. So it wasn't like me trying to make this into a job or me trying to get better at it. It was like, oh my God, I've done this and I earned $20. It was like the novelty of it. So it was like a fun challenge.
I think I can remember myself thinking the same way, like doing some illustration like before the university, like very, very bad stuff, and thinking like, man, I'm so good. Like, this is so awesome. Like, I don't need feedback from anyone. This is amazing. Like, I'm the best one in the world. And yeah, because you're so at the beginning of your journey that you don't even realize that you really need feedback and criticism to evolve.
That's the thing. And that's where age comes in, right? I feel like you could definitely, you've been through this. It's very different how I approach now things than like 10 years ago. So just that. So whenever I see a young designer or somebody like that who's definitely not looking for feedback, and they think that the way they're doing it is the best way and that's the way to move forward, I feel like they're right in one way. They can definitely move forward and they can definitely become like somebody important in the industry without any real feedback in the beginning. It's just a matter of seeing that others are trying to help them, not be against them, right? I feel like when you're gonna have that switch in perspective and see that feedback is not criticism, is something you should be able to take and analyze and do what you want with it. It's not a matter of taking feedback and then being okay. Now I have to do what this guy said. No, take the feedback, think about it, see if there are any parts that resonate true with you. If it makes you like super angry about that feedback, there might be some truth there. If you have like the capability to listen.
Absolutely. Yeah. I really remember like coming back from a class in the university and getting the worst feedback and feeling like this is fucked up. Like the teacher doesn't know anything. I can't believe he just like gave me this really bad criticism. And then like a few hours later, I would cool down and like start to kind of think about it and kind of realize like, hey, you know what? Maybe I can easily fix it, and maybe it's actually better now. And I think, I mean, when you're young, I guess it's kind of hard to let go of that.
It's so hard, man. And I feel like most of the time it's not. I don't take it personally if a designer doesn't take my advice or I see them not taking advice from other team members. It's just a matter of I think I've been in the exact same situation like 2 weeks ago. So in a project, I was doing things the same way I was doing it for the past 2 years or something. And then I got some feedback on some margins. So at my job, we work with landing pages. So our team creates landing pages. That's what I do. And I was using some kind of margins for the section, right? But I was kind of eyeballing it. So it was mostly I was trying to get the symmetry of what's in the header by eyeballing it, not by having like the same margins. And then one of like somebody in the team was like, why aren't you doing this have this particular pattern of margins? And I was like, no, this guy's he doesn't know anything. Like I've been doing this for like a few years, I know everything. And then I did it and I'm like, god damn it, he was right. I remember I was studying and I'm like, damn, like after all this time you get in the habit of doing things a certain way, and it's so hard like to get feedback and actually go ahead and implement it to see how it looks, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, it's so true. But I mean, I think sometimes maybe it depends on like your personality. I feel like the teachers who kind of didn't give me a hard time and actually told me like, yeah, this is nice, keep going, and then I would actually improve my work. And I mean, this teacher kind of helped me out more because it wasn't all about the criticism. Sometimes you just need to tell somebody like, keep working, you're great, you're doing fine, even if it sucks. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe.
Yeah. So how would the perfect teacher sound for you? Like, what's the perfect mix for you in terms of criticism?
Yeah.
And,
so exactly. So
motivation.
I would try to give the obviously the bad news and the criticism, but then kind of try to finish it off with something optimistic and still, you know, find a way to make this person, you know, not feel so bad about himself, especially if he worked really hard on it. Yeah, that's really tricky. I mean, this is so.
It's so tricky because you know, like human beings are so focused on the negative.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very hard. You could have 10 compliments afterwards and they could fly right by you, right? So
yeah,
again, and that's the tricky thing with design.
Yeah,
it's most of the time it's very subjective. Like you can tell there are rules and there are a couple of things you can learn, but each person has their own vision of things. Each person can interpret certain things differently.
Yeah.
So it's pretty hard to know when to take in feedback. So if it's from somebody who's, so for example, in your case, right? Like I've been working with landing pages. I feel very comfortable with that and giving feedback for that. But for illustrations, I still feel like a newbie. So me providing feedback for your illustrations, I don't feel like it would make a lot of sense, right? It could be like a second opinion, but I don't feel like you could take criticism on that, right? It's just a matter of how comfortable you feel in your field. I feel like that's the discussion you have to.
Yeah, totally, man, totally. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a really interesting topic. But let's keep talking about like your journey. Okay. And I mean, so you won your first logo.
Okay, so I won the first logo contest, right? And then of course I wanted more money. It wasn't about becoming a designer. It was like, can I get more money, please?
Money and
so
fame.
So once money and fame. It was mostly money. I wasn't really interested in fame. Okay, so I started doing contests, and then I'm like, I had like 10 logos I was pretty good with. I liked how they looked, and I was like, let me put on the same forum. So I'm talking about Digital Point Forum. I think it's still around, and I still think it has contest. So I was like, let me put a post and say that I'm going to do a logo with 3 versions for $3. Like,
wow,
just commission me, and I'm gonna build as many logos as I can for like $3. And of course, like I started getting orders because it was like $3. It's less than a hamburger or something, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I started doing that. When I started, like I was having too many. I raised it to 5, then I raised it to 10, then I raised it to 15, and now I was like doing a living.
That's really interesting. You kind of make it sound easy in a way, like super simple. Just start very cheap and like high your prices. Make it
Yeah, and
high.
this is very different than the advice you hear online, right? It's always don't sell yourself cheap. It's
Yeah.
always I feel like if you've invested a lot in education and you really have like that base,
Yeah.
I really don't think you should do this. I think this route can be used by somebody who has no investments done towards this,
Yeah. And
and still
also no experience.
doesn't have the basis. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
no
Yeah.
experience, doesn't have the base, because that's how I learned. Right, it was mostly through doing stuff. So I feel like when we're talking about people who went to university for design and did all of that, I definitely don't recommend if you put in like 2, 3, 4 years of formal education, which definitely uh, not maybe cost a lot in terms of tuitions, but definitely cost a lot on your family or whoever is trying to support you.
Yeah.
I definitely don't think you should go that low, right? You should value your work. But
Okay.
if you're just starting out, you're in Romania or somewhere, you know,
Yeah.
and you don't have real access to education in design. You don't have real access to uh, things like that. You could definitely do this. Yeah. So I started doing that, and of course, like with $50 per logo, it was starting to become a job.
And where are the clients coming from? Locally in Romania or like
No,
outside?
that was the thing. I kind of made it a point to never work with people locally, just because from all of the stories I've heard, like it's just not a marketplace where I want to be.
Right.
So I was feeling like I have the edge, even though it's kind of. I'm sorry for the people in the US or people who really have high cost of living. And I was the guy that was undercutting, you know,
Yeah.
those things.
I mean, yeah,
So I
but
can tell you
you
from
play with the cards that you get, and I think obviously there's a huge advantage in living in a place where there's a big industry and big money and big companies like in the US or here in Tel Aviv. There's like super rich high tech companies, startups, and
yeah.
then someone like you who doesn't have it in his own country. I mean, the least you can do is lowball and get like
Yeah.
these clients.
And that's the thing. Honestly, I've been to San Francisco a couple of times, and I've lived there for periods of times. And like 2 years ago, there was Design Week. So it's an event, a week long of events in San Francisco throughout the city. So I went and visited the digital agency called Bueno. It's on Dribbble. They're one of the biggest agencies on Dribbble, right?
Okay.
And it was pretty interesting, but like talking with people, it was kind of annoying for me, just because there were a couple of people who were saying like there's not enough opportunity in San Francisco, and I'm like, dude, are you kidding me right now? Like there aren't opportunities in design in San Francisco. Like you're literally in one of the biggest like design agencies in the world.
Yeah.
And you're saying that there aren't enough. And I kind of talked about it, and I'm like, do you understand that like in my city there are maybe like 3 digital agencies,
Yeah, man.
and the design teams are like 2 people. Like
Exactly. Yeah.
that's the level of opportunity. We're talking about San Francisco, who like only Facebook has like 1,000 designers.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's crazy how even if so I can see their point. Like if that's something some people complain about, you can see how they can complain about people coming in and undercutting stuff just because they're in Europe, or just
Yeah.
because they would like to be on a like to be an equal race, but it's not. It's definitely not.
Yeah, that's just the way it is, and that's okay. I mean, it might be annoying in a way, but I think the guys in the richer countries have it much easier. That's for sure. I mean, I do kind of understand. I mean, I'm getting a lot of job offers from Dribble, and I know that like 9 out of 10 messages that I'm getting is someone who is emailing a bunch of other illustrators as well. And I know that some of them lives in East of Europe, and Israel is a super expensive country. So I know that 9 out of 10, I'm gonna be so expensive for these guys. They're not gonna reply. They're not gonna say anything. They're just gonna go with some other cheaper designer. He might, or illustrator, and he might be like, again, like 18 with no experience, and the price is just better.
In the end, that's on them, right?
Yeah, I mean,
and they're going
in
to
the
get
end, exactly.
yeah.
You're gonna get what you paid for. That's
exactly.
a rule that's never been broken. You're gonna get paid for, and
yeah, don't get it twisted. Those $15 logos, those were $15 logos.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that was always my point. Whenever I saw pushback online about people that were undercutting, and I'm like, dude, I'm not competing with you to get a Nike job right now. Like, I'm definitely not. So I didn't really see why there was so much pushback in the design industry on people like undercutting. Do you really want to work with a client who would be willing to pay $15 instead of like $1,000 for a logo?
Exactly.
Like, that's the kind of client you would like to work on. I can tell you for sure that client definitely won't value your logo, even if it's $1,000.
Yeah,
if he thinks that
it's even backwards.
$10.
I mean, the clients who pay me the least are the clients who have the most feedback and problems, and because most of the time these guys just feel like it's expensive. It's a big expense for them, and the smaller clients would be the one who pay the smallest amount, and also things need to really work for them precisely, and they'll have a lot of requests and feedback. And so I mean, you
just because
don't want to really fight on the bottom part of these clients. I mean,
exactly, that's my point. And whenever I see those discussions, I feel kind of weirded out, just because I feel like it's a very different space. Like you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
And I really believe that.
Yeah.
Right. So okay, so moving forward. So I was doing this, and
wait. So the logos were from like Europe and the US coming online.
Yeah. So in terms of clients, it was mostly US.
Okay.
So it was usually small agencies that were probably outsourcing it, and with this thing having such a low price, they wanted to like get me on retainer, just because they're like, okay, can you do like 10 logos per month? I'm like, yeah, I guess I can. Right. So I started doing that, and I started moving away from contests.
Okay, and this is happening while you still study in the university?
Yeah, I'm studying like mechanical engineering. So by the time I finished like the first year, I was kind of like doing this as a professional. I felt like I was doing this as a professional just because I was working with clients, So it took me about a year. So that's why I always recommend people, if they really want to start with this. And again, like we can't even compare like the amount of information that's out there compared to like when I started like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Just in terms of Skillshare, like LinkedIn Learning, YouTube, just YouTube is insane enough. And if you have like 6 months, and you really put in 8 hours, 10 hours into one particular subject, I honestly don't see how you cannot be at least ready to enter some design contest, at least ready to enter some communities, get some feedback, and try just ask some people, how did you get started? Just ask, uh, where would I look for clients? And I'm guessing since you started the YouTube channel, maybe you started getting those requests more and more. And
Yeah.
I definitely have. And each time is pretty much the same answer. Like, if you really want this and you put in the time, like, you can definitely make something out of it. It's really hard to picture that, like picture how a 1 year from now is going to look like.
Yeah.
But it can definitely be done.
Yeah, totally. And again, yeah, as you said, like there's so many great courses, and just on Skillshare, Gumroad, and YouTube combined, you can just practice and practice, and it's so easy to reach the most amazing designers and illustrators nowadays. Just email them, send them a message on Instagram, and you might even get feedback on your work. Some of them might be busy, some of them would probably be happy to talk to you. Actually, a really cool trick that I'm doing now is I'm answering with a voice message on Instagram, because it saves me so much time.
Oh,
Yeah, it's super
interesting.
fast. I just read the message and then boom, record it. Like 2 minutes, I'm done. And
oh my God, I'm the worst. Then I write it down. I edit it. I'm thinking about it. I'm
Exactly.
structuring it. I'm like doing an article every time anybody asks me how to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I mean, I know what you mean, and it's really hard for me to kind of sit and write in English. Also, it's even worse. So yeah, just record it real fast. And so I think nowadays you can really easily get feedback on your work, talk to other professionals, and that's totally easier now. So can you give me an example of like one of your first logos? I mean, if you remember.
I don't know.
Like what's the company? What were they doing?
No, for example, I was doing random logos for services. So usually I was working with a couple of digital agencies, from one from Toronto and one from Texas. Those were my two main ones, and it was mostly like small businesses, small businesses that just needed logos. I usually got redesign projects,
Right.
just because those were like old companies, but they had like very bad logos, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And it was a matter, mostly I was doing like a package with logo. So 3 versions, they had to choose from 3 versions. And I was doing maybe 1 round of revisions, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And after the logo was approved, I was doing the logo in vector, PNG, whatever, different sizes. And I was doing letterhead design, and if they needed a business card.
Okay.
So
Cool.
so I was doing a template, and it was just like a basic design deliverable.
Awesome. And those agencies reached you out. I mean, they found you online.
They found me on those contests. So I did. I I I I was either like they either wrote me directly. They're like, "Hey, I want a logo for $15 or whatever," or it was like if I won a contest. The pretty nice thing about contests is that it was like $30, $50, 100 maybe, right? And if I won a contest for like $100, then if the client reached out and they're like, "Hey, we want you to make more logos," I'm like, "Sure, it's $100." Yeah. Okay. So that was the nice part, because I had like this steady income of like smaller pay jobs, and then you had the jobs where you would get 100, like 150 for a logo, that would come from time to time, and like that started adding.
Right. Okay. And I wanted to ask you another thing. I just forget. Let me think before we move on. So they can. I wanted to ask about if you had an online portfolio these days. Did you have a website?
Not really, not
Okay.
really.
So
Yeah,
everything
so
came through these
everything
competitions
from forums and
and forums.
competitions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. That's
So
fun.
again, I was thinking that I'm doing this and see if it leads to a career at this point. So after like 1.5 years, 2 years, I was still doing like full-time engineering school and this on the side, usually working during nights.
Yeah.
So I was getting very little sleep usually.
Yeah.
So uh, then it kind of clicked for me that I can definitely do this instead of doing engineering, which I didn't see like in engineering, I didn't really see a curve of growth that I could have with design. So I focused on this. And by the time I finished college, like I was feeling comfortable with working as a designer for the first time in
And
like
that's like
4 years.
3 years of college, or is it 4?
4 years.
4 years. Okay.
4 years.
Okay. So
Yeah.
4 years of
So
logos on the sides. Yeah, that's
and I feel like those logos on their sides, those were like my education in design.
yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean,
Because there
it's a long
wasn't,
time. It's a
yeah,
long time,
it
and
wasn't, there wasn't pressure to, I feel like there wasn't pressure to perform because I wasn't thinking about it becoming like a real job, you know? It was still fun.
yeah,
And I was making some money that I can like not have to worry about college and stuff, you know. So
yeah.
I
That's
wasn't
actually
dependent on my parents. I could do whatever I wanted, and it started giving me that freedom, you know.
that's a really good point. I think I talked about it some other time that when you start to freelance, if you just finish studying now, or if you're just starting out and you still don't have a lot of experience, going all in on freelance
I
when you
can
have to
only
pay the
imagine.
bills is kind of crazy and dangerous. So what you did was actually really good in that term, that you took
Yeah,
the
I can only
time.
imagine like coming out of 3 years of formal education in design, and then of course you have the expectation to be competitive on the marketplace, right?
Yeah,
Everybody expects this from you, and I feel
exactly.
like that's pressure that's being put even by other designers on you, right? uh, when they say like, oh my god, I'm doing this project for $5,000, or I'm doing this project, you're like, how am I going to compete with that? Like,
Yeah,
because first off, you might have the skills and you might just be worth those $5,000. I don't think that's a problem. I feel like most of the time it's just a matter of not having any case studies of previous work done,
yeah,
and it's a matter of you not having the confidence to ask for that yet.
totally.
I feel like there's only a bunch of people that, or I think that's a particular skill to have, to be able to ask those kinds of figures without worrying, especially in the beginning
Yeah, I mean,
when
it's
you
also
don't
really
really know how.
it depends on where you live and what's the prices in your country and your age and education. All these things really make a difference. So it really depends. Anyway, what happens after those 4 years in that?
Okay, so after those 4 years, I've done like logos for 2 more years. I kind
So
of got started.
full
I was kind
time.
of burned out. Yeah, like full time. I was doing full time. I was working maybe. Those were, now that I think about it, those were the good days, because I was working like 4 hours per day, and I don't know, playing a lot of games. I was going out. It was super fun, and I was having a really decent living, you know. And again, I didn't really took it that serious. I still didn't think about it as a career. I thought about it like something I'm doing now for fun, you know.
Okay.
And when it stopped uh, becoming fun, that's I feel like when I had to think about what I'm doing, like after like 5 years, it stopped being fun. It started being like the grind
Yeah.
that everybody talks about, right?
Yeah.
And the good thing about being a freelancer was that you could take time off. that's that's one of the things that I miss now with having a full-time job. Of course, there are certain things that are different, but we can go into that afterwards. But I feel like with freelancing, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna stop for 3 weeks. I'm not gonna do any logos. I let my clients know that, hey, I'm sorry, I'm not going to take any new projects for 3 weeks, and I just chilled.
Yeah.
So I just chilled and thought about like, what am I gonna do? Like, am I going to pursue this? Am I just going to stop doing it because it stopped being fun? Was that the only reason why I was doing it? Yeah. So I don't think I had answers for that, but after like 3 weeks, I definitely wanted to do some design again. So it wasn't like, oh my god, then I thought for 3 weeks and I knew what I needed to do. No, it was nothing like that. I had no answers. So but at least I reset. So I had the ability to reset, and then this opportunity came. Like, one of my friends got hired for Instapage, like a tech company in San Francisco, and I was super excited for him because we were both into tech. So I've always loved technology companies and apps and all of that things. So I was super passionate about it. And then he got a job in Timișoara, like in Romania, in a tech company, and I'm like, oh my god, this is crazy, man! Like, how did you get it?
Is this a friend who
And
study with you?
yeah, it's one of my best friends. We were actually freelancing together, so I wasn't going to any like co-working hubs or anything like that. I was going to my friend, and he was doing like community management and stuff online, and I was doing design like
Right.
from his
Okay.
living room. So that's how I dealt with not having to work alone.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and he started that job, and after a couple of months, he's like, I think we need somebody like the knows design and stuff, but it was very different. It was like landing pages. I've never done any. So I was like, I thought about it, and it was a matter of when I told some of the agencies I was working with, one of them actually wanted to match the offer from Instapage for me to continue doing the same thing
Oh, nice.
for them. And then I realized that I was providing way more value than they were giving me, right?
Exactly.
I was way more important. I was definitely not asking for enough.
Yeah.
And eventually I took this job, and this job is now a full-time job I've been doing for 5 years now.
And this, you were the
And
first designer on the team when you joined?
no, so my job was to uh, review some clients' landing pages and give them design feedback. So that was the job. It wasn't really a designer position, so I wasn't creating. It was mostly like, it was kind of like a consultant, right?
But there was no design team on the studio yet, in the studio.
In the company at that point, I think there was only one designer.
Okay.
That was doing like marketing stuff, in-house projects,
Okay.
all of that stuff. So I came in as a consultant to give like design feedback on landing pages.
Right.
So for that, I needed to learn a lot about landing pages, started learning. And from then on out, I started working as a full-time design consultant. Then I had to hire a couple of people to join my team.
Yeah.
I became like a design manager, and now I have the position of director of design services, which means that I manage 2 separate design teams
Right.
that offer
And
different things.
and both of them are in Romania?
Yeah. They're in the office here in Romania.
Right. Okay, that's really interesting. And I mean, at any point, did you feel like you need to kind of sit down, I don't know, get like professional books on like design, branding, I don't know, or like take...
You have to imagine that like during all of those years, I don't think I've ever stopped not doing tutorials.
Okay.
So
awesome.
So during that time, I don't think there was a period of like a month where I wouldn't try to do a course, where I wouldn't try to like read something. And that's where you're talking about mentors, right? Finding mentors.
Yeah.
And I was referring, when I started out, I did just that, but there was no line of communication. So One of them was Van Glitschka. He's an illustrator, a vector illustrator. He has a lot of courses on LinkedIn Learning, which was Linda back in the day. And like, I've always tried to mimic his style. Like I've always wanted to do something like him. And then on the logo design part, I loved David Airy. He has Logo Design Love, the book. That was the first design book that I ever bought. So, and I was just trying to get to a point where I can compare something that I'm doing to something that he has produced, because he was working with very high level clients. And I'm like, okay, how can I get this? How can I get to like simplicity? How can I get to like not using 10,000 gradients and a screen overlay on top of everything to make it glossy? Because those are the kinds of clients I was working on. Like, everybody was like, yeah, can you make a globe that's glossy or something? And I'm like, God damn it, every logo is the same. Yeah, so during this time, like, and that's part of why I think I managed to turn this into a career, because I don't think I've ever stopped like having courses or trying to learn stuff.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And yeah, I think this is like the part that people might kind of misunderstand, the fact that you always constantly need to, try to evolve and learn and practice. And yeah, I think, and it's definitely harder if you don't go to the university. So, and you already kind of feel like you're a professional, you get clients, and you feel like you're on top of the world, while actually, no matter where you are, like no matter who you work with, you still can learn and improve. And yeah.
And what I didn't see back then, and again, this is hindsight. So I think both of us can talk in hindsight what we have done, what we would recommend somebody to do, like to do it differently. The way I see it, those 5 years of logos, 5 or 6 years of logos, I feel like I could have reached that point with feedback from the industry in probably 2 or 3 years. Yeah. So I feel like that's what I didn't think about. That's one thing I didn't think about. I was like grinding it and pushing through with no like real pushback. And it's very easy to get complacent and not do anything different, right? So I think having somebody who can tell you, hey, you could do this differently, you could do this, even though it might not be super relevant, it can still help you move forward just by making you question your own work. So it's not a matter of you inputting the vision of somebody else on your work, it's you questioning your work. And if you're not questioning your work, I think it's going to be a long road, but I still think you can do it. That's the beautiful part of it, right?
Yeah. I mean, yes, sometimes you learn things like super slowly, and like it takes, sometimes, I don't know, you kind of connect the dots like very late, and that's totally fine. But I do think you always need to remember that you need to keep learning and evolving. And this is something I really see like lately. I see it with my friends. We graduated on 2015, so it's like 5 years in the industry now. And I can definitely see how some of the guys who were students with me got their first job, and then they felt like, yeah, I'm good. I studied, I'm a graphic designer now. Yeah. I have a position, nice salary and all that, and I'm good. And I can just sit back, do my work and relax, while others keep working, keep evolving and learning. And now they are in like super higher positions, leading a team, and, just getting working with bigger companies, getting to work on better projects, just because they kept practicing and learning. So
the way I see it, and of course, like, I don't know your friends, so I'm definitely making stuff up right now, but the way I see it, and take this with a grain of salt, is maybe some people just take design and apply the same model as other jobs. So in other jobs, you usually get certifications, right? And then you do the same thing. So I feel like that's something you can definitely do. get that model of what other people in your community are doing, right? If you have a lot of I don't know, doctors as friends, right? They get a specialization and then they do it for like 20 years. And you might see that pattern and you're like, okay, I can apply the same thing to design as well. When the possibilities, I feel like with design are so varied, and that's where I feel like the hard part is coming into play. Like having so many things to choose from, it's amazingly hard. And that's one of the
I
questions I
have to
get.
say, sadly, it's actually the same thing with almost every other thing that you do. Even if you're a doctor, I actually have. So my wife's uncle is a doctor. He's a veterinarian, so he's not a real doctor. Works with animals, but and he made like a diploma after diploma, and he really pushed hard, and he made these crazy surgeries for kangaroos. And so I mean, most of the veterinarians, so most of the veterinarians just work, I guess, like with dogs and stuff. But what I try to say is you can evolve and become like a very, very like a professional, I guess.
Definitely, but that's not the norm, right? That's not the norm with, especially since it's not with design. Designers want to show like what they're doing, right? So it's I think it's definitely possible for any kind of field. It's just a matter of I guess if you're willing to take those risks and if it's worth it for you. If you have a really good life, like just doing logos for $10 for the rest of your life, I feel like that's fine too as a person.
That's totally fine. Yeah, totally. I mean, some people just want to have their day job, and that's okay as well. I mean, everyone is different, and that's totally fine. Yeah, absolutely.
So what would you suggest differently, like now in hindsight, given your road to getting here? Like, what are you suggesting? So if you were to record a message for me on Instagram, what's the road you would recommend somebody who's just starting out?
Okay, someone who's just starting out like you back in the day. Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, I think you played like very good with what you had. I mean, you played your cards very smart, in a smart way. I think again, I really think that I really believe in mentors and to have some kind of a guidance, even if it's not a designer who giving you a mentorship. I think even if you go to like a business coach, let's say when you just graduated and you finished the university and you became a freelancer, you became a business owner basically for like 2 years until you moved. Yeah. I think that during that time, if you would kind of became a bit more serious about it, and I guess it also depends on your age, and you are kind of in a different mindset back then. But I guess if you would have taken like a business coach, things would have become totally different. And I'm sure like the first thing I would say to you, if you would have talked to me like back then, like when you're already doing good logos and working with companies from the USA, I would say triple your price now. Like send emails now, triple your price.
Nobody told me that. There was no Chris though. There was nobody online doing that. Like I can only imagine like if I had access to the future, right?
Oh my God.
Are you watching the future?
Of course I'm watching the future.
Yeah, so if I had access to that, I feel like it would have been very different.
Exactly. Just to hear those numbers, you can actually realize you can pay $10,000 for a logo. And
you have to imagine that I had no idea like how much people are asking for logos. There was very little content out on the internet saying that, hey, you can charge this much or you can charge this
even
much
today
for logo.
Even today,
I had no idea.
I think even today, I mean, other than the Future and a few other channels, like what's her name? Oh, I forgot. She also mentioned her salary, a designer.
Charlie Marie.
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh my God.
So she talks about it. I think Ran Segall also talks about it, if you know him. also
Yeah.
from Israel. And
Yeah,
pretty slowly,
I've been watching Flux for a long time. And like
exactly.
he had like 4,000 subscribers when I started watching.
Yeah.
And
So
have you ever met him? I know it
yeah,
might be like a
yeah,
weird question. Just because you live in the same city doesn't mean that you
yeah.
have to meet them. But like I'm curious, like
No,
because you
in
do have.
places, I think that in places like Israel and Romania, it's totally makes sense to ask this question. And yeah, we've met. We actually worked together on a small project. And yeah, obviously I know him. And we met in Off Festival. Um,
I went to Off Festival in Tel Aviv like 2 years ago.
oh my
I
God!
went to it. Yeah,
Oh man,
I went with my team.
really?
Like beautiful city.
Oh, you have to
Uh,
come again, man.
Very
I think it's
expensive. I wasn't expecting like
yeah, man.
I definitely wasn't uh, expecting Tel Aviv to be so expensive.
Yeah, it's really super expensive. And yeah, so that's
I
like
had no
the
idea.
pricing thing is definitely important. And I think what the future and Ron and Charlie are doing is so important. And but even now, there's like just a handful of channels and people online who are talking about prices. Even today, I mean, if you look at the illustration industry, there's like barely any information about it.
And what do you think that is? Like,
Why?
what's the reason
Why?
behind it?
Oh, that's
Why
like
people aren't sharing?
that's a big philosophical question, man. But I think people scared about, it's scary to talk about money for most of us. I think you feel like it's something, especially if you're a creative, you feel like it's kind of spoils your art and you need to
Yeah, yeah,
focus
yeah.
on, but it's
And I,
it's backwards. I mean, yeah, it doesn't supposed to be like that.
is definitely it could definitely be helpful, right, for new people starting out to know what's out there. But I feel like most of the time it's you don't want to have that uh, online, right? You don't want
Yeah,
to for
exactly.
people to know
Because
that, hey, I did this illustration, it was like $5,000, and now if they come to you and they ask for a similar one, and you're quoting them 10,000, they're
yeah,
gonna be like, but you just said like in that video that you're doing
exactly. Yeah,
illustrations for
yeah.
5,000,
Yeah, I think
right?
that's the problem.
I
That's
think
why,
that might be.
yeah, a lot of people don't want that to be online and recorded. And yeah, obviously, yeah, it's a touchy subject, but yeah, I'm just super happy with these channels. And I think that if you are starting out, YouTube is such a great place now. You have so much content. That's crazy. Like,
Why did you start your channel? Like,
oh wow,
what was the reasoning behind it?
that's a really good question. It was, yeah, it wasn't for the right reasons, probably. uh, we just, I mean, I had a really good friend of mine who is a designer, and we kind of started working together with some sort of a small studio. And then I thought like it's a really good time to kind of start publishing online, getting content out there. And I thought it would be helpful for the studio because I have a very big social presence already, but only regarding illustration. And we want to get more graphic design leads. So this was like the main idea behind it. And then I did a few interviews with other designers because again, I wanted to talk more about
Yeah.
design, and it was too much. It was like super, like the technical side was really, really hard for me. And I felt like my English is, I mean, it got much better now and I feel much comfortable, speaking with you today. Back then I felt like I'm just, getting, just having a really rough time with the English, with editing the videos and
Oh,
using Premiere and finding the music. And I felt like yeah, like I'm giving up. And then I did a process video of an illustration like a few months later and put it online as well on YouTube. And that kind of boom exploded, got lots of comments, likes, views. And I thought like, hey, like, why am I wasting my time on these interviews? I mean, I'm just gonna have fun. And I really
yeah.
enjoy, making these process videos and, talking with others.
How hard is it to make videos? Like a lot of people don't. I feel like a lot of people don't understand like how hard
Yeah,
it is to make a video, and you're actually taking time away from your client work, right? You're
exactly.
actually taking time away from your free time, and I feel like my channel is pretty small. Like
Yeah, I want
I
to
do
go back
have,
actually and kind of understand how it connects to your story. So yeah, let's go back.
honestly, it was a reason for me to not give up on doing small illustrations, you know. So
Is it
I was not doing anything productive with them. So I was sketching stuff and doing like small ideas. And I've always liked to do like flat illustrations, very simple. I I always try to take it like under 1 hour to just like try some stuff up, but I wasn't doing it. Like I wasn't doing it, and I always felt like I wanted to do this, but I never had the time. It made no sense for me, and then honestly, I wrote a message to Van Glitchka. So this was like 2 or 3 years ago. I wrote
okay?
a message on Instagram, and I'm like, "Hey man, just know that like all of the videos you put out, like everything you've done, they've helped me like get a career in design. Like
Yeah,
that's uh, and just know that there are probably so many other people that won't reach out that the content you've created have impacted, right?" And
and are we
then
talking
I'm
about
like,
the time? Are you already in the agency, or are you still fresh?
yeah, I'm full time like at Instapage. So at this
Okay,
point, I have a career in design.
okay,
So this was like 2 or 3 years ago,
okay.
right? Uh, I I feel like I have a career as a professional designer. I manage teams and everything's running smoothly. And I wanted to say thanks, like on Instagram. And that's what you were saying, that the ability to just reach out like a mentor. That's
Yeah,
crazy,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And it didn't click with me that I actually had that possibility. Like I didn't even think that I could say something to him, right? So I wrote that message to him. He was like, "Oh my God, man, thank you so much." And I was like, "Why am I not doing the same thing? Like, what's stopping me from like trying to put out content?" And it's just gonna leave. Like that's the beautiful part with YouTube. It's not a matter of some videos, as you might see, some videos for some reason don't get any views.
Yeah,
Some videos for some reason get a lot of views. So it's not, it's definitely not up to the quality of content. It's not definitely not up to like you speaking or having the perfect intonation or like having amazing cuts. Some of the videos I've worked with on and spent the most time on, and this is something that a lot of YouTubers say, those get the least amount of views for
yeah,
some reason.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. It's karma. I don't know
Oh, it's not
what's
karma,
going
man.
on.
It's SEO shit. It's like your title and thumbnail and all this,
Yeah, I have no
annoying
idea
stuff. Yeah,
like what's the reasoning, but
yeah,
uh, like I've seen videos that I've done that in the first month they got 30 views, and then they blew up, and now they have like 10,000 views. So even though it might be discouraging and it's pretty hard to find the time to do it, I'm trying my best like to be consistent with it. I'm very lazy with this part. I can tell you for sure. Like I really respect that you're putting out videos on a constant basis, and that's what I that's what I would like to do. Like that's what I would like to do, and hopefully just, and that was the thing. So initially it was mostly for the ego, like for
yeah,
me to uh, know that I've helped somebody, you know. And I was like, if I could get like one of the kind of messages that Van Glitchka received from me, like I think that's time well spent. And I definitely got some of those messages, and that's why like I'm trying my best to find time
yeah,
for it.
man.
And
That's a really, really great
yeah,
story. And yeah, I totally agree. I feel like nowadays I can, what I do is I take time off to just draw for myself again to practice and improve between client work. So I can easily just draw it and post it on Instagram and dribble and get a lot of likes and views, and I do it
yeah.
well. I mean, but I also record the process and put it on YouTube. And yeah, I get like a
And
very small amount.
how good is Procreate, man? Can we
Oh
just talk
man,
for a second that an app that's like $10 for a lifetime can do
yeah,
all of those things? I feel like that's uh, highly underrated. Like that app is
man.
crazy. It blew my mind.
It's super great. It's definitely different between, I mean, if you work with less layers or if you work with a lot of layers like me, I feel like I need to, at a certain point, I need to switch to Photoshop or something just to get things.
Really?
Yeah, because it's like too messy for me. But for like simple stuff, it's great. And people are
For
nowadays are doing
sketching and
amazing stuff.
now I feel like that anybody that has an iPad like has no excuse why they're not
Yeah,
testing
man,
out
yeah.
ideas. Like you have no excuse at this point when you have something like that.
Dude, and it's just
Yeah.
the beginning. I mean, in 3 years from now, everything's gonna change, man. It's gonna be like obvious
That was like always my dream.
you're not gonna need anything else, man. That's it, man. You don't need all these shitty. Oh man, you don't want to see my setup right now. It's fucking crazy. But it's gonna end up with just a black square. That's it. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and that's the thing with my dream was always like a Cintiq tablet, right?
Yeah.
Even though like I never done illustrations, like I've done a couple of projects since I have YouTube with illustrations of people reaching out and stuff.
Yeah.
But like I'm not thinking about doing that full time. I'm not. I think I have a really good path with landing pages and things like that.
Yeah.
But it's crazy that I can do it on an iPad. And my dream was a Cintiq, right? Like my dream was having that huge clunky thing connected with 10,000 ports that it's
and
not
it's super
even that
expensive
responsive.
well.
Extremely expensive, not portable. And I feel like Apple, I don't think they even thought this this could change the industry.
Yeah,
because they definitely didn't think about like the pressure that much. They didn't think about like adding any design specific
no, it's like
features to it.
It's really cool. It's like evolution, like nature evolution in technology. You can see like how things kind of just connected. It wasn't planned to be like a drawing.
Yeah, I don't think it was. I don't think it was as planned to reach this point so fast.
Yeah, just a happy accident.
Have you ever done any client work on the iPad, like just specifically, or
no,
are you moving
yet.
into Photoshop?
No, it's too scary for me. I'm too old, man. I'm no, but I'm serious. I mean, I can definitely look back and see how the fact that I had a shitty Wacom like this one. Look like the cheapest model. I'm still using it, by the way, from 2011. I couldn't draw straight lines. I couldn't make my lines like really nice and clean. So I just dropped them. And if you look at most of my illustration nowadays, they evolve in a way where I just delete all the line work as I work, and I'm most of the time I'm left with my shapes, and it happened because I had a shitty tablet, and I think like the way I draw and my style evolved because of my limitations, and I'm sure like the young generation is gonna evolve into drawing with iPads, and it's gonna be just how they are used.
And because you are using like shapes in Photoshop, like there's no real way of doing that in Procreate. Like you can't really have shapes that you can. But hopefully one day like you can do all of that stuff on a mobile device, right?
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, I wanted to say like just as you were saying about getting feedback from people. So even though I'm not getting as much likes and views on YouTube as I get on Instagram and Dribbble and Behance, I still, like the heartwarming messages from, young students and people who are just starting out. I just get a lot more out of the YouTube channel. People are really connecting with this type of content.
And I really have a lot of respect for you for that one, because I feel like it would be very hard to move from having 10,000 likes on on an Instagram post to like putting in 10-12 hours to create a video and then getting 20 views.
Exactly.
I feel like people don't understand like how hard that is to do that, and you have to let go of the ego at that point, right? Even though I'm sure that you have mixed feelings about it, like sometimes it might be disheartening,
sure,
right?
I'm not hiding, I'm
okay, perfect.
I could say it, man. It totally sucks. I'm having like 20K followers on Behance. another 16K on Instagram nowadays, and
Yeah.
this amount. I mean, this video, man, probably like 300 people are gonna watch it. Sorry to say, man, but that's the truth.
Yeah, I know.
But the ones who does watch it, they really enjoy it and connect with you, and then I'll get these emails and messages, and most of them nowadays the most people who are feeling comfortable reaching out are the ones who watch me on YouTube, and that's the coolest thing ever, man. That's like I wouldn't replace it.
It's way different. And a
Yeah.
lot of people like talk about YouTube like being this very toxic platform and stuff. I think it's a very different dynamic when it's entertainment versus education.
Yeah.
So if you have those two, I feel like those are very different, because with entertainment you're not really giving any value. Like you're distracting people,
Yeah.
and it's just
No,
entertainment, right?
it's value. It's okay, but it's different. I mean, yeah,
It's different. It's different. Yeah,
audience
and
is
that's why
also different.
you might see like people being haters, right? Stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
With learning, I think it's really hard to get negative feedback, because you're actually trying, and I feel like people are actually understand that you're actually trying to help.
Yeah.
Now, of course, there is a point where the focus of what you're doing, right? It might be to create some products. It might be to like develop further and actually make it part of your business, and actually make it make more sense on paper than just like for the soul. Like those comments are great, but sometimes those are hours you could have spent on a client work that could lead to money, right?
Yeah.
And that could lead to a better life for you and your family, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure that maybe you will go into that direction. I'm trying to like start building upon on that with some digital products, but I'm still trying to do the same thing. Like I'm trying to do, mostly I like doing tutorials that take you from a sketch to a flat illustration, like
Yeah.
very simple, just to get used to the pen tool, just to get used to like the knife tool and some of the easy techniques for beginners. And yeah, I could definitely talk about uh, being a design manager, like what's that like. But
Yeah.
honestly, mostly on YouTube, like from I've looked into it and stuff, there's not a lot of need for that. Mostly YouTube, I feel like, is for beginners to start understanding the process, to
Yeah, man.
start working, to start trying stuff. I feel like that's actually something for medium, or like a different kind of space where
Yeah.
you could share those thoughts.
Yeah, I agree,
So
man.
I am trying that. But as you said, like I can only imagine for you, like going from uh, thousands of likes, right, to getting to a few hundred views.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. It was kind of the same thing for me, but I don't have like a real social presence on design.
Yes. And yeah, you don't
Except
really show your work nowadays.
yeah, but so for me, the worst thing I had to face with was like I'm managing designers, right? And
Yeah.
then I make a video that has like 10 views, and that was
Yeah.
the weirdest thing for me. Like,
Are they giving you a hard time in the office? Yeah.
no, like in the beginning, like I didn't tell anybody. Like I didn't even
Yeah.
tell my friends or anything that I'm doing this, just because I didn't want like them to watch like my videos. I just didn't feel comfortable with it, you know.
Yeah,
But
I
then,
totally agree. I felt the same way. Getting starting on YouTube is super hard, man. You know, standing in front of
oh
the
my
camera is just fucking weird. And then, especially around your friends and family and stuff like
yeah,
that. I mean, yeah,
yeah.
man, totally.
Just for anybody that wants to try it, just turn on like any kind of camera, and in complete silence try to have a sentence.
Yeah.
Like it's so hard. And I don't get how some people feel so natural
Yeah.
on it. But it's definitely, I can definitely see an improvement for me. Like when I started doing videos and where I am now.
So
Again,
how
I
did you
feel
get
like,
started, man? Please share.
what do you mean?
Like with your YouTube channel, how things kind of happened. So
It was so I think the first 5 videos they had like 20 views, because I didn't have any social like presence, so it wasn't anywhere I could share them.
Yeah.
So it was only organic.
Yeah.
So they had like maybe 10, 20 views, whatever. Then I started commenting on other channels, on design channels, and I'm like, hey, this is pretty cool. This is pretty nice. And then I started seeing people coming to videos, like from comments, which was interesting. And then from then on out, so I was under, for like the first 2 months, I think I was under 100 subscribers.
Yeah, that's tough.
And that was the hardest part, right? Like moving away from like doing something full time where I could work for like my career, taking time from my free time and trying to put in to create videos and then getting like 10 views. That's it's very disheartening.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But I gotta say, like it gets so much easier. I mean, I'm looking back at like my first interviews and I'm thinking about this one. I'm just like sitting down, switching everything up. I'm gonna record this. It's gonna be live tomorrow easily. Like it's gonna be so easy for me to make an episode out of it.
And you can't get to this point without having to
but
go
you have to go through that shitty phase.
Yeah.
When everything is
and
slow,
it was pretty shitty. And then I talked with a designer, like the Simple Designer on YouTube.
Okay.
And they have like flat process videos. And they're like, man, do you want to make a video? I can put it on my channel, and then you can link to your channel.
Really?
Even though it's kind of weird, right? It's kind of weird.
Let's do it also, man.
Like, yeah. So
with this interview, like, can we link it to your account somehow? That's awesome.
I mean, in the description.
Oh,
that was it.
Okay.
You know? Yeah. So I was like,
obviously I'm gonna link.
So he had like 10,000 subscribers, right? And I created a video, posted it, and it got like 5,000 views, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, so it's not my content that's not working. So it's not like me not having good English. It's not like me having I don't know, weird tics, or it's not me not knowing how to edit. It's the audience. It's not having an audience. Like that's the only difference, right? And that's what changed it for me. So I wasn't putting as much pressure on me, because I was thinking that, oh, I need that camera to make it better so I get more views. I need that equipment but it wasn't that. It was definitely not that. It was just I wasn't at that point yet, right? So once I put in that video, I got like 200 subscribers, and it like doubled my subscriber base, just that video. And from then on out, it was easier for me to create videos. And whatever idea I have, I'm just trying to, I have like a bunch of post-its, and whenever I have free time, I work towards it. So yeah.
Awesome. And that's
really so for the first year, I think after the first year I had like 3,000 subscribers.
Oh, that's exactly the same. That's funny.
Yeah,
I just finished like my first year now. Like,
nice. So I had like 3,000 subscribers, and the second year I stopped doing videos because I went to San Francisco for a month, and I stopped doing anything towards videos. And I just, for some reason, 1 year flew by me, and I didn't do videos.
Dropped it. Yeah,
I dropped it, man. And that's my biggest regret right now.
But I think even though it's you could have done like obviously better, and the channel would have grown much more. Having those first videos there, just on YouTube for 2 years is great, because people still search and find them. And
yeah, definitely. And that's the good part with like process videos, with tutorials that evergreen. I feel like even though you're getting 10 views per month for a video,
it's going to change later. Yeah.
That still leads up to more and more and more, because that's how like educational content works. Like,
and it's people from my channel are going to discover your channel tomorrow, and they're gonna, and maybe they'll go to the oldest video, the one that has 10 views, and gonna watch it. And then like 2 years later, you're still getting views. So Yeah, I think
And
the hardest
again,
part is, posting a video, looking at the views the next day and thinking like, shit, like,
that's the worst thing you could do. I try not to do that.
yeah,
I
yeah,
really try.
yeah.
And one of the things, again, that was very discouraging, it was me applying the model of entertainment YouTube to this model. So when you're seeing somebody with 100,000 subscribers that has on every video like 50,000 views,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh my God, you have to have so many, but it's way different with learning from my like small experience. I feel like it's very different because uh, especially like my audience in that year where I didn't put any video, I definitely feel like I got penalized, by YouTube just because
Oh, yeah.
like in terms of engagement. So in my community tab, I was putting sometimes a video, a photo, whatever, and I was getting maybe like 20 likes, 30 likes.
Oh, man, I
And
don't
after
even
2 years,
use my community tab like ever. Is it
yeah,
good?
and after when, I don't know, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I just do it just because. And then after I started doing videos again, like I posted, and I was getting 0 likes, 0, you know.
Oh, really?
So I definitely think uh, that doesn't help. But now I started doing like a video every 2 weeks, like a tutorial, and I'm starting to see again, like it's starting to compound. And that's the
Yeah.
thing with YouTube, it's gonna compound on in terms of views, in terms of
Totally,
people
man.
who reach out. Yeah, so it's just a
Um,
matter of, it's just a matter of being patient, I guess.
yeah, yeah, totally, man. Yeah, yeah, again, just like with freelancing, as long as it's something you do out of passion and you enjoy it, and it's not something you rely on to get paid and get your salary out of it. So it's totally
Yeah,
fine. Take your time, enjoy,
yeah,
and if things gonna build up, it's great. If not, it's totally fine. You had fun, you enjoy the process, and that's okay as well.
yeah. That's the thing. I've started with like starting to see if I can make any money out of it, just because I want to. My goal is to like make money out of it, to actually have like a space for design.
Mm.
So right now I only have like my apartment, but I don't have any space where I can do any real design except for like my desk. But I would like to have like a space where I can film videos, where I can do things, and I would like for this to like for YouTube to pay off in some way,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
and
yeah.
even though
That's
I hate when people try to sell me on stuff, like I completely hate it, even with
it's.
the
I think
creators I watch, but it's,
it's fair
yeah,
game, as long as you offer your brushes, that's okay, man. That's like
yeah,
uh, s-
yeah,
uh, first of all, it's not expensive and it's very
yeah.
helpful for some guys.
And always like with the tutorials I do, I always try to include at least one brush for free. So
Yeah, it's fine,
you
man.
you could definitely work with one brush. You don't need 10,000. You don't need 15,000 brushes. I think if you have like 2 or 3 good brushes,
Yeah,
you should be fine if you're working with grain or any kind of texture, right?
yeah, totally, man. So yeah, I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you about future plans. So I guess this is like the future plan for you, like building up some sort of a studio.
Yeah. My future plan with this channel is for me to be consistent, and that's it's very hard. I'm going to try. Uh, right now I found that a video every 2 weeks is good for me. Like
Yeah,
it's not detracting from my life, and it's not adding any unnecessary stress. So I feel good with that. The future is I'm gonna create more products. uh, if anybody's interested, they can use it. If not, that's fine. But I'm trying to build some kind of uh, revenue from YouTube, just to keep me motivated. That's the hardest part that people don't understand. Like it's pretty hard to stay motivated when you could do something else and actually like provide uh,
yeah,
night again. Not We definitely get a lot of satisfaction right from YouTube, but it's not palpable. So it's not like you can do a lot with it, right?
Yeah, totally.
And
Man.
if you're thinking in the idea of trying to do something, move forward, and create stuff out of it, I really like. Do you know Zimri Mayfield?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
he's a YouTuber.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he basically created a design space in LA, like with, and I'm guessing it's with the YouTube money,
Yeah,
because he
I
reached that
think he's
point.
doing it full time, right? I think he's
Yeah,
at the point
yeah,
that he just make videos every day. Also, if
yeah. I
I'm,
think that like at 300,000, you
yeah,
can definitely say you're doing 300,000
yeah,
subscribers. You can definitely say you're doing this full time. For me, I don't have like any real plan of making this my job. I'm trying to keep it as a passion and hopefully help some people in the end. Have the motivation to like do some
keep
illustrations, like
drawing.
try
Yeah,
some
man.
stuff,
Yeah,
keep drawing, because it's very easy to stop doing it when that's not your job.
totally. And oh shit, forgot again.
Do you have any plans like that for the YouTube channel, or are you just trying to create?
Yeah, I mean,
Is it more about awareness?
I'm not sure yet. I'm really not sure. It became easier and easier, so I'm really enjoying the fact that I can just post super fast episodes now. And the thing is, yeah, I'm trying to record more client work as process videos and kind of mix it. So so even if I'm just having another work day, I'm just recording it, and at the end of the day, I finished my client work, and I also have a video to post. So this was kind of like my strategy in the last few months, but then I realized that it's not that great because I actually finished like a couple of projects now that I'm dying to release, but the client didn't print it yet, or they waiting for some specific launch day.
Oh, so it's not up to you, right?
Yeah, and then I'm stuck with material and I can't post it yet. So I kind of realized like, maybe I just record, go back to record, just having fun every now and then in the mornings. But yeah, I guess I'll keep do it. I don't have like any specific plans. I'm I'm kind of in a crossroad with some work options, but these are not related to YouTube. So yeah, I might kind of change my freelancing situation a little bit, but yeah, I'm not sure about it as well. But I'm definitely gonna keep posting this year for sure. We're gonna keep having fun and draw more and more. And actually, I think about getting back to these interviews now that we're speaking, because it became much easier, and I definitely feel much more comfortable now doing this. And I think it's missing. I think we should do more of these kind of connections and talk to each other.
I think it's very hard, like to set it up, and then you have to edit, and then you have to like post it.
No, you don't really need.
And then
yeah,
okay,
just hit record, man, and don't worry. Like you can say like
that's the
funny
worst.
stuff.
No, I admit, like for me, that's the biggest thing. I overthink, and it's always like it's not good enough. Like all of those voices that some designers have it. Like I feel like those voices are probably what helped me in the career,
Yeah.
But like doing things just for fun, it doesn't help to have those voices
Exactly.
there, So I'm trying my best to minimize the amount of production I'm trying to do, but I feel like I get a sense of like I'm proud when I have a video that's well produced. I'm super proud. Like
no, I totally agree.
So
yeah,
I
man.
do get something out of it, but if that interferes with you creating, just as you said, like having that production thing hovering over you, and that's the reason why you weren't doing videos, like of course you have to think about it.
Yeah. So yeah, things definitely changed for me, and now I'm definitely enjoying more, and I think I'll definitely go back to interviewing. But as you said, I mean, sometimes I posted too fast because I just wanted to get an episode out and keep, publishing episodes every week. And I think I deleted some episodes already, like in the past year, just because after a few days, I'm looking at the episode and I'm like, I'm not super happy with this one, you know? Things kind of didn't work out. And so, yeah, I feel, I understand like why you want things to be.
I was curious, you do post a lot and you do create a lot of illustrations. Do you have any illustrations that you've never posted?
Yeah, man, I have mostly like boring client work. Yeah. I mean,
and that's the thing with what most people don't understand is the client work sometimes might not be what you necessarily like feel super proud about, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, some clients are amazing and are the like super fun projects, really enjoying, and I'm recording some of the process if I can't. Some projects are just so complex that it doesn't make any sense to record the process, and some of it isn't that interesting. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just pay the bills.
Maybe it's not interesting for you.
Yeah,
but for some people it might be interesting, you know.
I guess you can find.
But for me, I would love to see it, you know.
Yeah. That's a good point, man. I mean, you can find an interesting story and share everything, obviously. But yeah, it's like, I think that's kind of crazy. I mean, making videos like what's his name, Casey Neistat, who is vlogging every day and posting everything from his day. That's kind of.
I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, no way.
That sounds like the worst.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna keep it to just whenever it happens. I also I don't keep a schedule. It's not once a week. It's not twice a week. It's just whenever, you know.
Yeah, I know. For me, if I don't have a schedule, I'm just not gonna do anything. So I have to, I have to.
Yeah. I think it's different when you have like a day job, like a full-time job that kind of keeps you away from your desk anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, especially since it's different. So that's the thing with illustrations. I'm not doing this professionally, except from like maybe incorporated in some other projects. But like having a full-time job, doing something different, and then doing, even though it's design, is the same thing, right? But it's very different. So I'm thinking about sharing more about like landing pages because I haven't done that.
Dude,
I've only had
of course you have to.
I know. but I mean, then like
as you said to me, I mean, I'd love to see like a day in your life. Take the camera to the studio, embarrass yourself in front of your designers. I'd love
my God, I can't. I'm gonna be that guy. Yeah, I'm gonna think about it. I'm not gonna make any promises though. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I wanted to say like I kind of think like you need to post everything you have, both on Dribbble and Behance and Instagram, even if you don't want to spend just an image with your cover from YouTube of the episode. I mean, people will find it and go to your YouTube channel. And I mean, I think
I'm not sure why I'm not posting it necessarily to any social media. I don't have an answer, honestly. I think it's maybe like I thought that maybe people wouldn't be interested. Is kind of the same thing that you're saying. Like maybe I was thinking that people aren't interested. And again, like I have so many illustrations that I haven't shared anywhere and stuff like that. So I definitely need to think about like at least sharing.
Yeah, man. At least like a Dribbble post with a link in the description to the.
I have like 3 Dribbble posts, so
yeah, exactly.
That's like.
I think it will really grow your audience, and these are people. I think your style is something that is super relevant for a lot of designers. So I think Dribbble is the perfect place where you need to post. Man, you have to post on Dribbble. I guess Instagram as well. I mean, Instagram is just big. Is the
I you know what it is? I think I made a mistake because I think I tried for a week to post on everything.
Oh yeah.
And that was too much.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay, so I'm gonna post everything that I do on Instagram, YouTube, whatever, Dribbble, and that took so much time from like time I didn't spend doing this, and that's why I think I didn't do it. Yeah. But if I were to focus on one thing, because on one thing I can promise, like if I were to focus on one channel, what medium would you recommend posting?
I'd say for sure, man, like 100% put everything you have on Dribble. I'm keeping things very simple. I have a Photoshop file with the dimension of a Dribble post on my desktop, and whenever I release a YouTube episode, I just grab the image, put it inside, post it on Dribble with a link. I mean, Dribble is not a place where I really look at like how many likes I got and did anybody wrote me comments on stuff too much. I'm just posting stuff. I forget about it after a minute, and it's gonna take like 5 minutes of your week. It's worth it, man. I really think, like, especially with your style and your videos, I think it's super relevant for Dribble for sure, man.
Awesome.
I promise to follow you and like your post if you do. I'll look you up.
Okay. I will post, I promise.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, we talked, for a long time, so that's good. Yeah, that's a lot of.
Yeah, I guess it's a good sign.
Yeah. No, it was really interesting, man. I think you have a really great story, and it's super relevant for a lot of people, especially like people who recently like reached out to me and asked me about this. So I think it's a really great.
And I especially, it's kind of frustrating to see the same narrative going on in the design industry of like, don't encourage contests, they're the worst. But like the people that are writing that have never went in contact with somebody on the other side, like somebody from India, somebody from the Philippines, who are actually like providing a good life for them and their family through that. If you're competing against that level, I feel like that's on you. Like, if you're in a different market, you should definitely reevaluate.
Totally, and I think like for me, the most important thing in your story is to show to a lot of people. It's also relevant for my story. I mean, both of us show people who are living in nowhere in the middle of like I don't know, just some town in a faraway country. It doesn't matter. Nowadays you can study online. You can work with clients from the US. You can work with clients from China and Europe and get build your career even if you live as long as you have an internet connection, you can do it. And that's what I really like about your story.
And I definitely think that all of the advices that other people are saying are relevant. So if I could have done it differently, I would definitely try to be more active in my community, like making known that, hey, I'm a designer.
That's a really good point.
I can do things for you. Like that's something I haven't done. And again, that's something that you could provide value real quick. So I think that if I would have went to a random store in my city and said that, hey, I'm going to do a logo for you for free, like not even ask like the $3, just to get and help the community. I feel like those could have helped me build a portfolio faster, and actually be able to say that, hey, I've worked with these kind of companies instead of focusing on really, really small companies or random websites that were paying like $5,
Yeah.
And that's again, some of those things definitely apply, and that's the beautiful thing. You can do it anyway. In the end, you can take like one advice from Chris Do, one from you, one from me, and make it work. You can definitely make that happen. What I've seen with, especially like when I started out, some of my friends reached out and they're like, hey, I want to do this as well. Sounded fun, right? What I've seen almost everybody do is drop out after like 2 months. 2 months of not making money. If you drop out, I don't feel like that's a passion, and I don't feel like that's something you should pursue. If you're not willing to put in during the time where you don't have like any real responsibilities in your
but you
teenage years.
You also need to be aware of that, because some people they might don't have the motivation. I mean, because it's actually a known fact that like most podcasts are being like canceled after episodes or something like that. So just being aware of that number. I mean, thinking back, like I finished interviewing for the channel, for example, after like 6 interviews, and I kept using YouTube, but thinking about it now, I mean, yeah, you kind of need to understand that there's this statistics.
Yeah,
And
there's a drop off point.
Yeah.
And if you can go through it, like I had a friend that was actually like working full time, something completely different, and he was like, "Dude, I want to do this because this sounds fun." I just linked him to a couple of tutorials, a couple of courses, and he ran with it. It was like in 6 months, he was making as much money as he was doing as his full-time job, and he quit that job. So it was all up to him being able to take a piece of advice, take like a link, take a URL, and don't like ask for every single step. What should I do next? Yeah. Just move forward. Try to move forward. If you're really stuck, then yeah, you should reach out. But I think that's the biggest difference, and that's a difference I've seen in my friends that have tried this.
Yeah, that's a really good point, man. Awesome, man. Yeah, I think we need to end on this note. It's been super interesting. Okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for your time, man. Okay, happy to finally get in touch, and hopefully we can have more discussions like this.
Yeah, man, for sure. Yeah, man. Thanks so much.
Say hi to Ron if you meet him. That's the thing. Okay, we can talk more at a different time. There's always another thing.
Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, thanks so much, man. See you next time, bro.
See you. Bye.